What I've picked up, Blaine, as we've led up to this funeral coverage, is that although he was such a giant in the world and lauded by world leaders, as we've seen the tributes pouring in, when we did a crossing to Cape Town, I asked, how did his neighbours experience him? Because we know him as the arch, this large man. And Vanessa was saying to me that the neighbours experienced him the same way everybody else did. There wasn't a switch between the arch on the world stage, somebody who prayed with people, who cried with people, and then the arch who was the next door neighbour. So let's continue finding out what's happening in Cape Town. And I'll cross to my colleague, Vanessa Poonah, who's standing by outside the family home in Milnerton. A very good morning to you, Vanessa. Just describe what's happening where you are.
Yes, I would like to say a very warm good morning to you, but it's quite cool. A dank and dreary morning here in Cape Town at the moment. Some light rainfall earlier on, and of course grey skies overhead. I suppose just significant because it is indeed a grey day for the Tutu family. It is the final farewell to a beloved husband of some 66 years, a beloved father. And of course, to the rest of us, it's been a week of mourning, really, since the news broke of the Archer's passing on the 26th of December. Of course, immediately following that, there's been memorial services after memorial service, various ways to honour this great man. A table mounting the City Hall, lit up in purple, his favourite colour. And of course, church services, well wishes and homage being paid to him from across the world, really. And this morning I'm standing in front of the Tutu home. Of course, just behind me, you'll see it's still relatively quiet. At the moment, we understand that the family is already at this hour preparing to get ready for their departure towards the St. George's Cathedral. I know that at about 8 o'clock this morning, we do expect 2 buses to transport some of the extended family members, grandchildren and so on, and they'll be making their way towards the cathedral here from the Tutu Milnerton home. And then also I know that Malaya Tutu, someone who has gone through, I suppose, a harrowing experience over the past week, really, and also, I suppose, in the weeks leading up to the passing of the Arch, seeing someone you love so dearly, your husband, your soulmate of 66 years, with failing health. And of course, this past week, she would have been receiving condolences and words of comfort, and people coming into and out of the Tutu home just to be with her, to sit with her, to share with her. But of course, that would also have taken quite an emotional toll on Malaya, who's also at quite an advanced age. So I know that she will be making her way towards the St. George's Cathedral in a convoy with the rest of the children, and that will happen at around 9 o'clock this morning. Very quiet here outside the Milnerton home of Archbishop Emeritus Desmond Tutu. Just a few media houses here at the moment, and of course the roads still cordoned off to make sure that when those buses arrive to transport the family members, that it will be a smooth ride, drive into town towards the city centre, and of course St. George's Cathedral, the place where the Arch, at his request, spent last night. His body, of course, there in that plain pine coffin, lying, I suppose, in the place he loved. And of course, it would have been his wish for that, just that period of solitude. I know that the Arch, a deeply spiritual man, would have appreciated this moment before his family, his wife, his children, his grandchildren, and the world sent him off in a final goodbye.
Almost a model relationship, isn't it, with Mama Leah Tutu, spanning over 6 decades. One would describe it as a relationship of love and mutual respect. No doubt a great example for us all. Vanessa, you've been interacting with a number of people over the past couple of days, and I remember you were just doing, we call it in the business, vox pops, the voice of the people, just speaking to a few people in the line waiting to pay their respects to Desmond Tutu, and one of them said, I'm here because Mr. Tutu came to my wedding. And it just gave us a sense of how approachable he was. He wasn't that distant figure who was venerated from afar. He was with the people.
Indeed, Blaine, that was quite a special moment. That was yesterday when I was outside in the line at the cathedral as hundreds of people really came out And then the one gentleman, yes, indeed, did tell me that he felt it was important for him to come out to pay his last respects as the Arch had attended his wedding. I also spoke to another lady. She was from Johannesburg, and she was saying that at the time when the Arch was indeed made the first Bishop of Johannesburg, she and her sister were invited, for example, to have a cup of tea with the Arch. She really wanted to meet him. And while they were having tea, he got a phone call. He left and he went into his office, and he came back with his head in his hands, saying that he had just received a phone call that a grandmother in Soweto and the two grandchildren were shot by the security police, and saying that just witnessing his pain in that moment, and shortly after that he carried on speaking again, and she was talking about the kind of heart that the Archbishop had, broken time and time again, but of course that each time his heart got broken, it just grew back stronger, full of love, full of compassion, full of hope. That's another word that came out when I spoke to people in the Cube Lane. People talking about the fact that the Arch always believed there was hope even in the darkest situation.
Vanessa Poonah giving us an update from outside the Tutu family home in Milton. She's going to be there as part of the larger SABC team that's making sure we give you a picture of what's happening on the ground.